So welcome everybody to this latest video on 160 Maths. In this video we'll be going over the AQA GCSE Maths November 2017 Foundation Paper 2, which is a calculated paper. Now as always I'll include a link to this paper in the description below for you to have an attempt at if you've not done so already before watching this video and going through the answers. And I'll also include the grade boundaries for this individual paper, so once you've marked it you can see what grade you would have attained on this paper. So let's get started on this AQA GCSE Maths November 2017 Foundation Paper 2, which is a calculated paper. So looking at question 1, it says how many minutes are there in 2 1/4 hours? Well, it's just recognising the time that 2 1/4 hours is 2 hours and 15 minutes. There are 120 minutes in 2 hours, so it's 120 plus 15 minutes, which is 135. Then says which of these numbers is half of a square number. Well, if we double each of these numbers, we see that from the numbers I've written, which of those are square numbers? So it's going to be 2. And then the question 3 says circle the value of the digit 3 in the number 17.03. Well, the 0 represents a tenth, so the 3 represents 3/100ths, and that's our third option. Then with question 4, it says the value of A is double the value of B. Circle the correct formula. So if A is double of B, then I need double of B to be the same as A. So that's going to be our second option. Question 5, A, it says simplify Y times Y. Well, that's going to be Y squared. And then for 5B, we just need to simplify this expression. So we collect the A's. So 5A take away A is 4A, and 2 plus 9 is 11. Then moving on to question 6, it says the table shows information about birds in a garden, and we've got 4 types and we've got the number of where they appear. And what we need to do for this question is draw a bar chart. So for this, what we need to make sure that we're doing is that we have a frequency or the number going vertical. So as you can see, the biggest number was 5, so we're going to go up to 6, and let's just label that as frequency, and we've got birds going along here. Now for this, what you need to make sure is that the space between the bars, that there is an equal gap between each of the birds, and that each bar is the same width. So I'm going to choose to have one bar representing by 1 square. So we've got robins, which I'm just going to label as R. We've got sparrows, which I'm going to label as S. We've got wrens, which was with a W, and a lark, which is L. So the robin goes up to 2, and again you should be using a ruler, but just to save time I'm just going to do this freehand. And for sparrow there's 5, so that's going to go up to 5. And again, just make sure that there are equal gaps between the bars. That's really bad, so let me just colour that in just to make it look a little bit more presentable. Wren is 3, and the lark is 1. So something along the lines, I need to make sure that your numbers fit on your grid. So if you were to go up in 2s, that might be fine, but I think that you may struggle in terms of the number because we've only got 9 squares going up. So I would say it's probably better off doing exactly what I've done on the screen, but obviously a lot neater with a ruler. Then with question 7, it says that Eve has these coins, and you can see what coins they've got. Ola has these coins. It says Eve gives 3 of her coins to Ola. Now Ola has the same amount of money as Eve. Which coins did Eve give to Ola? And it's worth 3 marks. Now I think this question personally is a little bit stingy, but let's have a look at what it is. So the first thing you need to do is work out what the total amount of both the people are. So if we add up the 2 amounts, you can see that Eve has got £3.97 plus Eve's amount, which is £1.53, giving a total of £5.50. Now if they've both got the same amount, we divide that amount by 2, which gives me an answer of £2.75. So that's how much they both have now. So the question is how much money did, if Ola has got, so Eve has got £3.97, she now has £2.75. Well, £3.97 minus £2.75 is £1.22. So what she's done is Eve has given Ola £1.22. So which three coins from the top row could we use to make £1.22? Well, that's going to be in any order: £1, 20 pence, and 2 pence. Then moving on to question 8, it says that a dry cleaning shop has the following offers, and it says work out the total price for 2 suits and 6 dresses. So looking at the suits to begin with, so we've got 2 suits, so we're going to pay for one that's full price and one that's half price. So we've got 2 suits. The first suit is going to cost £12.50. And then the second suit is going to be half of that, and half of £12.50 is £6.25, giving me a total of £18.75. Now, for the dresses, we've got 6 dresses. Now, the offer is 3 for the price of 2. So how many 3s go into 6? That's going to be 2. So really, I'm only going to be paying for full price dresses dry cleaning. So here we've got 4 times £9.75, and that comes to a total of £39. So then the total amount, so the total cost is going to be £18.75 plus £39. So we're just adding those two amounts up, giving us a total amount of £57.75. So looking at question 9, it says Carl has twin sisters. The sum of their ages of Carl and his twin sisters is 39. In 4 years' time, the twins will be 18. How old will Carl be in 4 years' time? So let's have a look in terms of this. So starting off, if I just imagine that this is 20 and just pick a 2010, then this is going to be 2014. So in 2010, what we know that Carl's age plus 2 of his sisters is 39 years old. Now in 2014, we know that X plus 4 years later, that the twins' age is going to be 18. So here we know that the twins in 2010, the twins were 14. So then if my twins were 14 in 2010, I can then work out what Carl's age is. So Carl's age plus 2 lots of 14, which is 28, equals 39. So in 2010, Carl was, and it's going to be 39, take away 28, is going to be 11. Now the question's asking, how old will Carl be in 4 years' time? Well, it's going to be 11 plus 4, so it's going to be 15 years old. Then moving on to question 10, it says one of the angles in a triangle is 90 degrees. And so what we need to do is just tick the correct statement. So is the triangle an equilateral? It could be, because obviously we don't know what the other 2 angles are. The triangle has at least one other acute angle. Well, that's definitely got to be true. The angle is a right angle. That can be true, so it might be true. And the final statement is that the 2 other angles are less than 60 degrees. Well, that can't be true, because otherwise the angles won't all add up to 180. Then with question 11, it says which of these numbers has exactly 2 factors? So in other words, which of these numbers is a prime number? And that's going to be 7. For question 12, it says work out the square root of 7.5 squared plus 18 squared. And again, if you just enter that on your calculator, you should have the correct answer of 19.5. The next question then says use your calculator to work out the exact value of this. So again, if you type that into your calculator, you should end up with an answer of 752951. And then the question then says use approximation to 1 sig fig to check to see if your answer in part A is sensible. Well, if we round this number up to 1 sig fig, well, the first sig fig represents 10,000, so we round that number up to the nearest 10,000, and that's going to be 20,000. We then round this number here to the nearest to 1 sig fig, which is 100, so we round that number up to nearest 100, and that's going to give me 400. And then finally we round the denominator, we look at the first sig fig, which represents 10, so we round that number up to the nearest 10, and that then is 10. So then working this out, I've got 2 times 4, which is 8, and then how many zeros? Well, I've got 6 zeros altogether, and another one there. And then from that, what I can then do is to divide that all by 10. And let me just double check. It's 4 times 2, 8, and then we've got 6 zeros. I've missed out a 0. There you go. So that's where my mind was delving. Then we can cancel one of those zeros, giving me a final answer of 800,000. Is that close to 7,552? Well, yes, it is. So yes, it's a sensible answer. So moving on to question 14, it says Chris sells lawnmowers. The table shows the number he sold each quarter for 3 years. In which year did he sell the most lawnmowers? So what we need to do here is basically add up each of those rows. So if I add up this first row, and again, all I'm going to do is just simply add them up to see which year he sells the most. And so here we've got 136. In 2015, he sold 143, and in 2014, we've got 132. So in which year did he sell the most lawnmowers? That's going to be 2015. Then for question 14, it says he uses the table to decide the number of lawnmowers to stock each quarter. At the start of which quarter should Chris stock the most lawnmowers? So what we'll do is find out which quarter has the most sales. So here we get 45. So if I just add up each row, column rather, I get 194, 164, and 8. And again, you'd expect it to be more popular during the spring and summer months. So the start of which quarter does he need to order the most? It's going to be quarter 2. Then moving on to question 15, it says in a test, section A is worth 80 marks, section B is worth 120. Ria scores 55% in section A, 70% in section B. To pass, Ria needs 65% of total marks. Did she pass? So first things first, for paper A, we need to work out what 55% of 80 marks is. Now on my calculator, I'm going to convert 55% into a decimal, multiply that by 80, and that gives me an answer of 44 marks. Then for paper B, which I'll do in a different colour, we then want to work out what 70% of 120 is. So I'm going to enter 0.70 times 120, and that gives me an answer of 84 marks. So the total grading, so let me just move down a little bit. So here, so we've got the total they got was 44 plus 84 all over 200, because then where I've got 200 from is by adding 80 plus 120. So that gives me a total of 128 divided by 200. I then want to convert this into a percentage. So if I times that by 100, I get an answer of 64%. So did she pass? Well, she needed 65%. So unfortunately, Ria did not pass. Unfortunately, she missed out by 1%. And again, the reason for that is because 64% is less than 65%. The next question then says that a wheel is made from a circular rim and has 8 spokes as shown. The length of each spoke is 37 centimeters. Work out the total length of the rim and the spokes. So each spoke is got a length of 37. So that's 37, 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 and that's 37. So the total amount of steel I need is going to be 8 lots times 37. And again, if I just quickly type that into my calculator, 8 times 37 gives me 296. So that's what each of those straight edges are going to be. The next thing I then need to do is work out the circumference of this circle. So here, this sort of green amount here is going to be where the radius or the diameter is going to be 37 times 2, which is 74. So it's going to be 74 times pi, which is 74 pi. So then the total amount is going to be where I simply add those two amounts up. So it's going to be 74 pi plus 296. So if I just type that into my calculator, 74 pi plus 296 gives me an answer of 528.48 and centimeters. That's to 2 decimal places. Now, I would probably leave my answer as that, or you can do any form of rounding. If you wanted to, you could leave it as 528, but just always state what you've rounded it to. So I'm going to go for 528.5, and that's to 1 decimal place. Then moving on to question 17, it says that here is the formula to convert Celsius into degrees Fahrenheit, and we've got a formula here. Show that minus 40 degrees equals minus 40 Fahrenheit. So basically what this question is asking is find F when C equals minus 40. So if I substitute minus 40 into this formula, I have 1.8 times minus 40, put that in brackets, plus 32, and if I type that into my calculator, it equals minus 40, which is basically what they've wanted me to prove. For question 17, it says the temperature is minus 15 degrees. Nick says because the temperature is negative in Celsius, it must be negative in Fahrenheit. Is he correct? Well, let's substitute F equals, degrees. C equals minus 15. So sub C equals minus 15. So I get 1.8 times minus 15. I don't know why I've put 1.5 there, so let me just get rid of that. Minus 15 plus 32, and that gives me an answer of positive 5. So as 5 is positive, Nick is wrong. And there you go. So for question 18, it says here are 5 cards. 1 card is removed. The mean of the numbers on the remaining 4 cards is 6. Which card is removed? So let's have a look at the total sum of the 5 cards, which is 1 plus 5 plus 7 plus 9 plus 11, and that gives me a total of 33. Now, if the mean of 4 cards is 6, then 4 times 6 equals 24. So the total sum of the 4 cards equals 24. Now, if we work out the difference between those two, that must be the card that's removed. So 33 take away 24 gives me an answer of 9. So that's the number that has been removed. Then for question 19a, it says divide 120 in the ratio of 1 to 4. So again, if you remember your rules of sharing a ratio, we add the numbers in the ratio, which is 5. We divide the amount by the answer, so 120 divided by 5, which is 24. And then we just multiply the two numbers in the ratio by the answer. So I've got 1 times 24 and 4 times 24, giving me an answer of 24 and 96. Question 19b says, write the ratio of 7 to 4 in the form of n to 1. So what I want to do is, rather than having a 4, I want to change that number into a 1. So what do you have to divide 4 to get 1? Well, I need to divide that by 4. So I do the same to the first number. So I divide that by 4. So 7 divided by 4 gives me an answer of 1.75. So the answer then is 1.75 to 1. Then looking at question 20, it says that in 2015, Han was paid £1,350 per month. In 2016, he had a 2% increase in his monthly pay, worked 37.5 hours per week, and worked for 47 weeks. And what the question is asking is to work out his average pay per hour in 2016. So for this, what we need to do is do several steps, and it's worth 5 marks, so we just need to do that. So let's have a look at what his new annual monthly wage is going to be. So his new monthly wage. And how do I do that? Well, I just increase 1,350 by 2%. So using decimal multipliers, giving him a massive pay rise there, of 50 times 1.02, and that gives me a new monthly wage of £1,377 per month. Then working out how much he earns per year, so that's the first thing. So his annual wage is going to be 12 times 1377, which gives him an annual wage of 16,524. We then need to work out how much he's going to get paid per week. So we divide that by, so we look at the weekly wage. Now he doesn't work 52 weeks, so it's going to be 16,524 divided by 47. And that means that he's getting paid 351.57 pence per week. Then we can then work out his hourly wage by dividing by 37.5. So it's going to be 351.57 divided by 37.5. And that comes up at a rate of £9.38. Now, depending on your rounding, you may have had £9.37, and that would be fine and acceptable for the full marks. So £9.38 or £9.37 would be fine for that. Obviously, you don't need to give both answers. For question 21, it says an experiment is carried out 200 times. The possible outcomes are K, L, and M. Complete the table. Now, for relative frequency, it's the number of trials divided by the frequency divided by the total number of trials. So for this block here, we need to do 54 divided by 200. And that gives me an answer of 0.27. Then we need to work out, so for this number here, what I've got to do is do 200 minus 84 minus 54, because I just need to work out how many times did M occur. And there's a total of 200, 84 were K, 54 were L. So M is going to be that number, which is 62. And then to work out what the relative frequency is for M, I then do 62 divided by 200, which gives me an answer of 0.31. Then for question 21b, it says altogether the experiment was carried out 500 times. How many times would you expect the outcome for K? Well, it's going to be the total number of trials, which is 500, multiplied by the relative frequency for K, which is 0.42. And type that all into a calculator, we get an answer of 210. Then for question 22, it says the table shows information about UK and Germany, and we've got population area, and the question says to work out population density, we've got to do population divided by the area, compare the population densities of the UK and Germany. So what we need to do is basically substitute these numbers into this formula for each of the two countries respectively. So for the UK, that's going to be 64 million. And just be careful when you're counting the number of zeros, divided by the area, which is 95,000. And that gives me an answer of around about 673 point something. Then for Germany, it's going to be 82 million divided by 140,000. And that gives me an answer of 585 point something. Now then what we just need to do is just compare, so just a covering statement. So you could say that the UK has a higher population density, or you could say it has more people per square, and it is in miles per square mile. So something along those lines would be fine. Then says which one of the following is discrete data. Now discrete data is numerical data that can only be certain values. So it has to be specific numbers. So the correct answer you should have is the number of TV sold, because you can't have decimal answers in the number of a TV sold, or let's say like half a TV or 0.3 of a TV. It doesn't quite work. Decimal numbers can be discrete, but again, it's not any number within a given range. Then for question 24, it says describe fully the single transformation that maps triangle A to B. So this is our old shape. and this is our new shape. Now you can see that the shape has been altered, so it's definitely going to be an enlargement, and with an enlargement we need a scale factor, and you can see that the base has gone from 6 to 2, so then that's going to be 6 divided by 2, which is, sorry, it's going to be different. It's going to be the new shape divided by, so it's going to be 2 over 6, so it's going to be a third, and then we then need to find the center of the enlargement, and again all you've got to do is just find two corresponding points, draw projection lines, so you can see that the center is going to be at 5, 1, and you get 1 mark for each of those statements. Then for question 25, it says that the graph shows information about prisms with the same, did I know that was going to happen? So let's just go back to that question. And there we go. So the graph shows information about prisms with the same volume, and the question is saying give one example to show that the volume is 24 centimeter cubed. So what you got to do is just pick two numbers, any two numbers, and just on the graph should draw a horizontal line and vertical line till it hits the curve and then go in the opposite direction. So here I've got 6 times 4 equals 24 for the single mark. Then for question 25, it says the diagram shows a prism with a volume of 24 centimeter cubed. The height of the triangle cross-sectional area is h, and it says work out the height of h. Now, typically they would say use the graph or use any old method. So they've not said that, so you've got a choice of 2 possible methods. So if I was using the graph, then I've got a length of 5. So when I have a length of 5, that means that the cross-sectional area is going to equal 4.8. So when the length equals 5, the cross-sectional area equals 4.8. Now, the cross-sectional area of a triangular prism is a triangle. So here I've got this as B times h divided by 2 equals 4.8. Now I know that the base of the triangle is 6. So here I've got 6h divided by 2 equals 4.8. So I get 3h equals 4.8. And then so h equals 4.8 divided by 3. So h equals, and type that into the calculator, I get an answer of 1.6. Now, you can do this without using the graph. You could just work it out normally. And it's just like a reverse volume question. So the volume of a triangular prism is the cross-sectional area, which is half, or base times height divided by 2, times L. Now, substituting the numbers that I know, well, I know that V equals 24. So I've got 24 equals, the base is 6, so I get 6h divided by 2 multiplied by 5. Now if I do a bit of rearranging and simplifying, I know that this bit here becomes 3h times 5, and 5 times 3h becomes 15, so 24 equals 15h. So then if I divide by 15, 24 divided by 15 equals h, which gives me the same answer as the graph did, which is 1.6. So moving on to question 26, it says the ball is thrown from a height of 15 meters. It bounces to a height of h1, then to height h2 is shown. h1 is 3/4 the original height, and it says Jack expects h2 to be 3/4 of h1. Work out the value of h2 that he expects. So here, to work out h1, which is what we need to do first, we need to do 15 times 3/4. Now, if I type that into my calculator, I get 11.5 meters. Now, the question is asking for h2. So what I've then got to do is use h1, which is 11.25, and work out 3/4 of that. And that gives me an answer of 8.4375 meters. It then says, question 26, it says, in fact, h2 is 2/3 of h1. How does this affect your answer in part A? And the correct answer is it's going to be lower. And the reason for that is because for h1, if we did 15 times 2/3, and I type that into my calculator, I get an answer of 10 meters, which if I look at H1 when it was 3/4, it was 11.25. So so something along those lines, and you could say 10 meters, which is lower than 11.25 meters. So something along those lines would be fine. For question 27, it says we just need to expand the brackets and solve the equation. So expanding the brackets, we get 12x minus 8 equals 2x minus 5. Then we've got to take away the smallest amount of x's. So that cancels with that, so I'm left with 10x minus 8 equals minus 5. Take the 8 over, so I've got 10x equals positive 3, and then divide by 10, giving me an answer of 0.3 or 3/10, whichever you prefer to leave your answer. Question 28 says work out the next term of this quadratic sequence. Now the best thing for this to do is remember it's not asking for the nth term, so you don't need to worry about that. So if we look at the difference between 5 and 8, it's 3. The difference between 8 and 14 is 6. The difference between 14 and 23 is 9. So you can then realize the next difference is going to be 12. So this answer here is going to be 23 plus 12, giving me the answer of 35. Then moving on to question 29, it says work out the size of angle X. So this is going to involve trig. So labeling the sides of the triangle, this is theta, this is opposite, that's going to be the adjacent, that's the hypotenuse. I don't need the hypotenuse because there is no number attached to it. So which trig ratio uses O and A? Well, it's going to be tan. So I've got tan X equals O over A. So using this formula and substituting the values in, I get tan X equals 3/7. Now because I need to get rid of the tan, so I need to do the inverse tan, and just remember that the numbers in the fraction aren't affected, so it's the inverse tan of 3/7, and if I type that all into my calculator, I get an answer of 23.2 degrees, and that's to 1 decimal place. And that's the end of this paper. Now I will include the grade boundaries, so once you've marked your paper you can see what grade you've attained on this individual paper.